Hello.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night.
Yep. Good time for you. And we're back. I know it's been a little bit. We have,
They don't know that. I might post this one a day after the other one
well, if
that we did
you're still
last.
posting everything on YouTube, right?
Well, yeah, that's true.
So if people
Yeah.
are paying attention to YouTube, they
Well,
know
there
that
is that.
I've been being a lazy, terrible
But
son.
for all they know, we may have recorded this, and I was just really slow at uploading it.
Well, either way, stuff hasn't been being posted on YouTube.
No,
So
it hasn't.
something hasn't been happening. But anyway, we are here.
We
We
are.
are in Psalm 7 today, and
Yeah.
we were looking over this before we started, and it looks like the actual prayer part, the last verse of the prayer, is verse 9, which is kind of interesting because there's some variation on verse 9 specifically between
Yeah.
translations.
In some translations, it looks like it stops at verse 8.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well as we get into it. But the translation that kind of keeps the prayer out to verse 9 is ESV, so I'm going to be reading from that. And then if you'd like to read through the rest of the chapter just to pick up some context and see how the rest of it goes.
Yeah, the rest of it's kind of like a second verse to a song where he's talking to the people about
Yeah.
God.
It keeps a very similar
does that a lot.
theme.
Yeah.
He does, and we've been through some of those where he'll pray, he'll talk to the people, and then he'll go back into praying. He
Yeah.
doesn't go back into praying at the end
No.
here, so we decided not to include that bottom half just because it doesn't fit the topic that we're going for. But still, read it. It has some very interesting themes in it that would be cool to talk about, but it doesn't fit with what we're doing. All right. A Shigeon of David, which he sang to the Lord concerning the words of Cush, a Benjaminite. O Lord my God, in you do I take refuge. Save me from all my pursuers and deliver me, lest like a lion they tear my soul apart, rending it in pieces with none to deliver. O Lord my God, if I have done this, if there is wrong in my hands, if I have repaid my friend with evil or plundered my enemy without cause, let the enemy pursue my soul and overtake it, and let him trample my life to the ground and lay my glory in the dust. Selah. Arise, O Lord, in your anger. Lift up yourself against the fury of my enemies. Awake for me, you have appointed a judgment. Let the assembly of the peoples be gathered about you. Over it return on high. The Lord judges the peoples. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to the integrity that is in me. O let the evil of the wicked come to an end, and may you establish the righteous, you who test the minds and hearts, O righteous God.
Okay, so let's start with what is a shigeon?
Uh-huh.
Because
What is
that's not
shigeon?
something that we talk about. We don't go to church and say, let's sing a shigeon today.
Right.
So it actually comes from a Hebrew verb that means basically to stumble about drunk. That's the verb. And so a shigeon is a lyrical poem, a song that is full of strong passion and emotion.
So instead of like being drunk on alcohol, the song is drunk on emotion.
On emotion, yeah, it's kind
Okay.
of like,
Okay.
well, and that, I mean, it is. Emotions can be
yeah.
so strong.
I remember seeing a little video a while back of these cops checking on this guy who was disturbing a neighborhood, and he had a bottle in his hand, and they gave him a breathalyzer test while he was like talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't. He was almost acting like he was drunk, but he wasn't drunk. And if as they listened to him, they found out that like he'd been working hard to take care of his wife and family, and he had like 7 kids he was working for, and he loved them all so much. And he just found out that despite all that, his wife had been cheating on him.
Oh,
And the
lovely.
emotions from that were just making him so overwhelmed that it was like he was drunk. But anyway,
Well, along those lines, remember Hannah's prayer in
Right.
Samuel.
right. Are you drunk?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's like, "How long are you going to stay drunk, woman?" And she said, "No, I'm not drunk. I am just full of emotion."
Right.
And so certainly, so this poem, this song, this prayer, uh, this particular psalm, Psalm 7, is um, very much about strong emotions.
Right.
And it could be that it was written at a time in his life and circumstance where he poured all his emotions into it. The only other time that I know of that a form of this word is used, a plural form of it is used in Habakkuk 3 and verse 1. And so, um, but I mean, it almost seems like, I mean, a lot of David's psalms seem very, very strongly emotional. So it kind of makes you wonder, though, about that. But anyway, so that's just I thought we should talk about what a shigyon is, um, and then also so we don't. Here's the thing: we don't know what he's emotional about specifically.
Yeah.
It says which he sang unto the Lord concerning the words of Cush, the Benjamite. There's no record of a Cush the Benjamite in the time of David.
Yep. I'm looking through that actually.
Now Kish was the father of Saul, King Saul,
And he would have been a Benjaminite.
and he was a Benjamite, and Saul was a Benjamite. So somebody, probably a relative of Saul, is accusing David of something. We know of a similar situation with Shimei, who was also a Benjamite, who was cursing David
Mm-hmm.
and calling him a bloody man and accusing him of taking the throne away from Saul and all sorts of murderous things. So it's very possible that this Cush, the Benjamite, was doing similar things. Cush and Kish, similar
Yeah.
names. It's possible that some descendant of Cush, of Kiss or Kish, depending on the translations, may have been somebody named Cush, also of that. But
Or the translation got like rearranged,
yeah,
because that happens a lot with names.
yeah. But this person, whoever he um, is causing David some problems by the things he's saying. He's making accusations. We know from what he says in verse 3, if I have done this. So apparently he's being accused of doing something that he says he didn't do. He
Right.
doesn't believe he did, but he
Which, if this is just a mistranslation of Kish, and this is Saul's father accusing David of something,
I think Saul's father would have been long dead by this time, but I don't.
Possibly.
We don't know exactly
Yeah.
when he died.
um,
But any relative of Saul,
yeah, but and that would kind of make sense to me that it's like, oh, you killed the king.
yeah, you killed
David would be
Saul,
very upset about that
took
because
the
we
throne
know,
away from Jonathan, who would have
Right.
inherited it. And
we
everything.
know to what lengths he went to make sure that
To not,
Saul was
yeah.
okay.
So much as executing the man who claimed that he did kill Saul. Like, why did you think you could raise up your hand against the king? So, but whatever this accusation is, it is tearing him apart inside. There's no doubt about that. And he is definitely disturbed and upset. I have to say, there have been very few times in my life, but I can think of one time in particular where an accusation against me has evoked such strong emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's that it's somebody says, "Oh, you took my parking place," that's big deal. Although some people get fighting mad over that, cut them off in traffic and they want to shoot you. Some people are emotional over every little thing. But David apparently, whatever was said, the words of Cush the Benjamite are what started this rant of a prayer that he has, this shigeon, because he is so emotionally disturbed by these accusations that Cush has made that he can't do anything except turn to God. That's all he can do. So that's where he starts, of course, in verse 1. O Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me. So he considers himself to be being persecuted by Cush. Now, we don't know. Cush may have very well been trying to overthrow David as king.
Right. That something similar happened a couple of times.
Yeah, more than once, certainly. So, but he's being persecuted, or at least he feels like he's being persecuted. Sometimes people feel persecuted when they're really not.
Right.
But sometimes they really are.
Which, as the king of a nation, if if you're the king, you're always going to have people after you. That are.
Well, and
if you're a leader, you are going to be facing conflict.
Right. There are going to be people who disagree with me and people who don't like you, and you have to deal with that, and you have to handle that, and you have to recognize the difference. And I think we've had a lot of some presidents were really good at that, and some not so much. Right. You have to be able to understand the difference between somebody who just disagrees with that policy or disagrees with the decision you've made, and somebody who hates your guts.
Right.
You've got to be able to recognize that difference and not think that everyone who disagrees with you about anything is persecuting you and picking on you and trying to destroy you. Sometimes people just disagree with you.
Right.
I know we've had that a lot with various different presidents, and you have to learn to recognize that difference. Somebody may be on your side, but they just honestly disagree with what you're doing.
Right.
And somebody else may really just doesn't matter what you could agree to do what they just said they wanted to do, and they'll turn around and say that's horrible. I don't want to do that anymore. I mean, so you have to weigh that. All right. So he's worried about the persecution, and look at verse 2 how strongly he's concerned about. Mm-hmm. This is apparently. He's afraid it's going to go way beyond words.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that makes me think that this has something to do with being accused of usurping Saul and hurting Saul is how verse 3 and 4 go together. If I've done this, if there is wrong in my hands, if I've repaid my friend with evil, or plundered my enemy without cause. Who was a better friend to David than Jonathan?
Yeah.
And him taking the throne from Saul and from Jonathan would have been seen probably by many as him doing a disservice.
Yeah, stabbing his friend in the back. Yeah. Well, Saul certainly saw it that way.
Yeah, he did.
Jonathan, don't you know you're not going to get to be the king. He's going to steal it from you. Which of course Jonathan didn't see it that way at all.
Jonathan didn't really.
Jonathan seems to have been a better man than his father was.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Which if I was Jonathan, I wouldn't want to be the king. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't know. Being the king is a rough situation.
Yeah.
That's a tough job. But he's afraid. In verse 2, he said, "Lest he tear my soul like a lion, rending it in pieces while there is none to deliver." So he's definitely concerned about how far this is going to go. I don't know. What does yours say in verse 2? Does it say something about the soul, or is it talking about...
verse 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, "Lest like a lion they tear my soul apart, rending it in pieces, with none to deliver."
Yeah, nobody to help save him out. Yeah. That's why he's turning to God, because who could save him except God? There's nobody more powerful.
And I know I was just talking about verses 3 and 4, went through those very briefly, but when you add verse 5 in as well, that gets really, really interesting, because in verse 5 he says, verse 3 and 4 he's like, if I've done all these things, if I've done this, if I've done this, then let the enemy pursue my soul and overtake it. Let him trample my life to the ground and lay my glory in the dust. Selah. And you can see there how confident David is, that he's like, I did not do this. I am not the kind of man that would do this. And you, God, if I did those things, let them have me.
Yeah.
They want to tear me
Destroy-
apart like a lion. If I
if
am
I deserve
responsible
it.
for that, if I deserve it, let it happen. Make sure it happens.
Well, that's like Paul saying, if I have done anything worthy of death, I don't refuse to die.
Right.
If I deserve it, if
Right.
but I didn't do it. I'm not guilty of anything.
And I think about how I feel like that kind of mindset is maybe rare nowadays because you have to have a boldness, a conviction of what you've done and who you are as a person, strong enough to hold that to God in a prayer.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I did not do this. I am not the kind of person to have done this.
Yeah.
And if I did, you hold me to it.
And it's one thing to lie to the police and lie to the court and lie to
Right.
people in the news media or something.
Right.
Oh, I'm innocent. I'm being good. But it's another thing to go before God
Right.
and because he knows.
Oh, yeah.
You can't lie to him.
And then that idea of, if I did this, I am the caliber of man that wants to be punished for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what I deserve.
I need to get what I deserve.
Whereas nowadays it's like, oh, I didn't do that, I'm innocent.
And then it's proved, yes, you did do that.
Well,
but I shouldn't be punished for that.
I had, like, this happened, and that, it's like, it's not my fault, really.
Yeah.
I had a troubled childhood. It was my parents' fault.
Blame society.
And there's
it's
always
society's
somebody else
fault.
to blame instead of taking a responsibility for yourself. And even, like, with this, going so far as to take a responsibility for yourself and your own actions, even ones that you didn't do, where it's like, hey, if I did this, let me face judgment for it. But I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, because and then he talks about what he encourages God
Yeah.
in verse
Kind of
6.
continuing that theme.
Arise, O Lord, in your anger. Lift up yourself because of the rage of my enemies, and awake for me to the judgment thou hast commanded. So now he's asking God, no, and because I know I didn't do this, but if I did, punish me for it. But you judge those enemies that are, you get up and rage against them because they're the ones that are wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
He says, so shall the congregation of the people compass thee about. For their sakes, therefore, return thou on high. He is definitely looking to God to be above all the people.
Right.
And to have power over the people. And he's talking about here, gathering the people compass you about. If this is going to be like a trial. This is going to be judgment. He says, awake for me to the judgment you've commanded. So he's looking forward, in essence, to Judgment Day. He's looking forward to God sitting there and everybody standing there.
Right.
And God passing judgment and everybody seeing who was right and who was wrong. Right. A lot of times you see that after a court case, whether it was somebody that was wrongfully tried, wrongfully accused or whatever, or maybe when it was somebody who was convicted of a crime and the victims' families, and but somebody may say, we feel we're so vindicated by this decision that this was justice has been served, and that's what David's waiting for. He wants God's justice to be served.
Yep. I find it interesting the way we have like three groups of people here. You have David kind of by himself, which is kind of typical for Psalms. You have his enemies, which again, kind of typical for Psalms. And then in verse 7, it starts introducing the assembly of the peoples.
Yeah, all the people.
And it continues that for a little bit on. And it's interesting to me that there's this back and forth between David, God, and David's enemies, and did he do wrong? Did he not do wrong? Does he deserve judgment and punishment?
Yeah, and then there's the audience.
And then it's like, and you are over all these people, and you're going to give a judgment. It's like, Where all these people come from?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? What's the purpose of having them here? You know, was it just because, as king, this whatever Cush was accusing David of was done publicly? Um, it just
Yeah.
seems
Well, they're
odd.
witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
They are an audience. You know, sometimes in a court case, you know you've got the accused and the defendant and the prosecutor. You've got them,
And then
and
you've
you've
got
got
a
the
jury,
judge, and
right?
then you've got a jury,
And then you've
or
got
an
an
audience,
audience
and
as
you've got
well. Yeah,
witnesses. I mean,
right,
there's a lot of different parts to this,
right,
and he's here kind of pretty much testifying himself as to this is his testimony.
right,
We don't know who else heard or saw, but then he calls here's all these people.
right.
Um,
And then as soon as that shows up in verse 7, in verse 8, he kind of flips it and he says, "The Lord judges the peoples." It's like, okay, so now he's, which we know, of course, God is judge,
right.
but it's like, okay, all these people showed up. You're the judge of them. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to the integrity that is in me. It just seems interesting to me to just kind of throw this in the middle of the
Right.
whole prayer. And I assume, like, in
Well,
the Hebrew, he is trying to set up that idea, like you're saying, of a courtroom. Rise up, God, you've appointed a judgment. Look, there's all these people around you. Look, you judge them. Judge me. Take me to the stand. Question me by the righteousness and integrity of my heart.
and it seems like yours says peoples, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems like this it looks like this is the singular here, the people, like God's people. Like he's
Right.
talking about Israel. He's not talking about
Right.
all the nations. He's just talking about.
Yeah, because
Although I mean, God is going to judge all the nations, but
right,
here he's just really saying, you're going to judge your people
which
and judge me.
we know specifically. Like I was reading through Exodus a little bit ago, and there's a couple sections in Exodus that really jumped out to me when they're giving some of the basics of the law, where it says these two, if they're having a fight about this, that, or the other, um, these arguments are going to be taken to God, and God will judge them. And it's like, hang on, a priest isn't going to decide this. That like
Or some sort of a judge,
it's
like a Moses
it's
person.
not going to Moses, or it's not going to the leadership structure that Moses set up with his
Judges and
father-in-law.
stuff, yeah.
That's just going to God, and God's going to decide it. And that idea of God just judging the people of Israel whenever they were having
Right.
conflict just on a daily basis was something that I'd never noticed before reading through those sections of the law. And that's very interesting. I wonder how long that went on for. And I wonder,
Well, there was,
like, I just wonder how that worked, you know?
yeah. Well, there was, well, like, okay, so like there was the thing with the wife where her husband thought she was cheating on him,
Right.
and he would take her, and the priest had this water prepared
Right.
in a certain way that she drank.
Right.
If she was guilty, it would kill her.
Mm-hmm.
If she was innocent, it wouldn't harm her at all.
Right.
Now that's miraculous. I mean, there's no way. I mean, there's no
Right.
way
Right.
a drink could tell whether you cheated on it. So that's really just, that's the
Right.
ceremony. But God was doing the judging there. If she
Right.
was guilty, God would punish her.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
I've read some of those and I understand some of those, but the idea of like we're not doing anything.
God's
There's
just gonna,
no ceremony. It's just you have an argument. This guy has an argument. All right, you're gonna go to the temple. You're gonna take it to God, and God's gonna judge between you.
What was there's the thing they talk about it we don't really even know what it was because it was lost at some point along, like with the Ark of the Covenant and everything.
The
The
Urim and the
Urim and
Thummim,
Thummim, yeah, like
right?
what was that? But that seemed to have been very involved in those
With
types
some
of
of those things,
situations,
yeah,
where it was like it was a
yeah.
way that
Because
they,
I think they mentioned something about they would cast lots for God against them.
yeah. Well, you see Joshua doing that with Achan. I know this is a little off track from the
Right.
psalm, although that's what David's basically asking God to do: judge this.
Exactly, and that's where this is coming
But
from. Is after reading that and reading this, I'm wondering
if
if
he's,
that was still a process, because I know,
I mean, there were still prophets and stuff, and there were
as
priests, and
as
they're
the
still under the law of Moses. Why not?
and but it's like as the Israelites went on into the land, as time passed, I know a
Yeah, they
lot of
kind
stuff
of,
got lost.
yeah, a lot of that fell away.
And so I'm wondering, especially like there's a king by this point,
Right.
and when the kings are being appointed in the books of Samuel, God's saying, "Oh, they're not rejecting you as a prophet, as a leader. They're
Rejecting
rejecting
me as
me."
king, yeah.
And so, when that happened, did God? Did people stop seeking judgments from God in the temple? Did God stop providing judgments in the temple? Would David have seen a couple of people going forward into the temple with witnesses and having God judge an argument for them? Was that something that was still happening?
I could imagine that it might have been. I mean, you think about this idea of like the casting lots and things for God,
Mm-hmm.
like we talked about with Joshua and Achan's situation, where they cast the lots and the tribe of Judah is taken. They cast the lots again in this family, and until it gets down to Achan's family and he's the guilty one,
Right.
and they just like keep narrowing it down by casting lots.
Right.
And I think about that. Then let's skip 1,500 years and go to Acts 1.
Right.
And what do the apostles do when they need to choose somebody to replace Judas?
They cast lots.
They cast lots.
Right.
And they let God choose
Mm-hmm.
which, and they even pray
They even
which
prayed
of these
about it,
men,
yeah.
which we'll cover that one another time. But they're still, here are Jewish people 1,500 years later, still with this mindset of, we are going to let God decide this by casting lots.
Hmm.
And so I think very much so. I mean,
And even
it
then,
probably was still going
with
on in
Jonah,
David's day.
those men, they weren't even
They
Jewish.
weren't even Jewish. They weren't. Yeah, they weren't believers in God, but they cast lots, and God apparently
made it happen.
made
Yeah.
it happen that it came out that hey, it's Jonah. And this is similar, the idea of laying out a fleece
Right.
and letting God
Right.
show by that. And how much of that even, we know God doesn't work miraculously today,
Right.
but through
But
providence,
there have
if we
been
just
some
say,
times where certain
choose,
people,
help me choose
Yeah.
this. I'm going to, I mean, it sounds maybe a little ridiculous to say I'm going to flip a coin, but God, you choose.
Right.
If it's heads, it's this. If it's tails, it's that. And we think, well, that's ridiculous. God's not involved in our lives like
Right.
that.
but
But
at the
they
same
very
time,
much believed that he was.
yeah, and at the same time, crazy stuff happens. Like I think about when Maddie and I were first getting together. Well, not first getting together. We'd been together for a little bit, but I was basically questioning how seriously to take our relationship because we'd studied a little bit, but I don't think she was a Christian yet. And so I was asking God pretty frequently, hey, like, what do I do about this? How seriously do I take this? What's going to happen with this? And so I was with her at her place on Saturday night, and we were picking out clothes to go to church on Sunday. And she had picked out a black dress that she liked. And, we talked, we did a little bit of Bible study. She went to bed, I went home. And on my way home, I said, God, if she's the woman that you want me to marry, then tomorrow, when I go to pick her up for church, because she didn't know where the church was, so she couldn't drive herself, so I had to get her. have her be wearing a white dress instead of a black one. Now,
Did you know she had a white dress?
I don't think I even knew if she had a white dress. What's funny is when I showed up that morning, she was wearing a white dress instead of the black one we'd picked out. And when I asked her about it, I was like, "Why'd you wear a different dress?" She was like, "Even though we'd set it out the night before, I couldn't find it." We'd set it out the night before, but I couldn't find it, and I saw this white dress in my closet, and I was like, "You know what? I just think I should wear that today." So she did.
Yeah.
And so
Did God hide her dress
weird,
from her so that
weird little things like that happen. And
Yeah.
with her, like, she and I had a lot of doubts starting out. So
sure.
we asked for a lot of signs, and God was very gracious and gave us a lot of signs. Her first shooting star she ever saw. Her entire life, she'd never seen a shooting star. And we were out here in the yard one
because
night.
most stars have outlawed guns.
We were out here in the yard one night, and without telling me, she had asked God that if she was supposed to marry me, for her to be able to see a sign in the sky. Nothing specific, just a sign in the sky. And she saw her very first shooting star, like shortly after asking that. So, weird things. And when enough of them stack up, when you draw lots and draw lots and draw lots and draw lots and get down to the one guy that did it, Achan,
Yeah.
it gets to the point where it's like, that's not just
He's the
chance. That's
No.
not just luck.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
and I think we can see kind of a similar thing here to what's talked about in Exodus, where it's like maybe David did see something like that being decided.
yeah, he'd probably seen it before. I mean, he'd been interacting
Yeah.
with the priests and prophets and things along the way. I mean, you see them knowing things like, and I don't know at what point. This is probably maybe early on. So
Right.
before all of the things with Bathsheba and stuff, so he may not have had a lot of experience with prophets coming to him, telling him his deepest, darkest secrets yet.
Right.
But even with Samuel anointing him as king, I mean, how did Samuel look through all his brothers,
Yep.
and he said, "No, it's none of them. Is there anybody else?"
Right.
And they're like, "Well, there's only the little runt
The
that we
little
have out there
shepherd kid.
keeping the sheep,
Right.
And it's like, well, bring him in here. I want to see him too. Then,
Right.
so-
Real Cinderella story,
yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, the Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to my integrity that's in me.
Yep.
I mean, would you want God to judge you
Mm-mm.
according to your righteousness and your integrity?
I know my shortcomings.
Yeah,
I'm working on it.
That
I'm not there yet.
that is a boldness. Now, maybe he's specifically talking about
this
instance,
Right.
and there have been certain times where I could say, in this situation,
Right.
I am doing what's right. I am not sinning. I am not in the wrong. I have integrity in this. But then there's been plenty of overall. No, I don't want God to judge me
But
according to
even
my
then-
righteousness. I don't have any.
I wonder. I think that's something that we should ask for. Period. And I know that nobody asks for that.
Yeah.
But I think it's something that we should ask for,
I
and
think
we
David
should ask
does
for
on more than one
Well,
occasion.
I mean modern
and
days.
that's what I'm saying.
days.
Yeah, he does it multiple times.
But the reason I say that I think that's something that we should ask God for is because of the scripture talks about the Lord rebukes and chastises the one who he loves,
Yeah.
and the one that he treats as a son. So it's like, if you, whether you're right or not, if you want God to help train you in ways of righteousness better,
If you want him to be a father to you and
Yeah.
discipline you,
yeah, ask for it.
because if he doesn't
I asked for
discipline you,
beatings as a kid.
yeah,
You
you were a strange kid
I wanted to be trained better, something like that.
or something.
And, but in all seriousness,
Xander, did you do something to deserve a spanking? Spank me.
Oh, you'll find the broken glass in your bed later. But no, I think that we should ask God to judge us, and we should be willing to accept His judgment, because that's something we need to get used to here on earth before we reach the final judgment.
Yeah, we are going to have to face judgment then. We need to have some experience with it here.
Yeah.
And we need to not go through life in denial thinking, I mean, yeah.
And
I've had somebody ask me, why is this happening? What did I do that's bad? I said, well, do you want a list?
Right.
Because the fact of the matter is we have all done things that deserve death,
Right.
according to God's law. None of us is innocent.
Right.
And
I think once it gets to, thinking about like God's judgments and stuff, like you said, there's no saying that He isn't already judging on various things.
I mean, He
and
is
giving us harsh times for various different reasons in various different areas.
He disciplines us.
And so it's like, if that's going to happen, we might as well acknowledge it and be aware of it and ask for it, because if we know it's coming, then, and we know who it's coming from and why everything's happening, it's going to be difficult. But I feel like that knowledge makes it a little bit easier.
Well, it's better to be disciplined by God, who loves us and wants us to go the right direction, and suffer because we're being disciplined by Him, than it is to suffer just from evil, people being evil toward us, or to suffer because Satan's trying to persecute us or whatever. It's better to be disciplined and suffer because God is trying to keep us on the right path. So that's way better. One last thing in verse 9 as we get to the end. Of course, we talked about the King James makes it sound like he's just talking, oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just. For the righteous God tries the hearts and reigns, is what the King James says. The ESV, as we read earlier, says, you, God, try the hearts and minds. So there, again, one makes it sound like he's talking about God, one talking to God. But it's interesting that is what he's been asking God to do. Mm-hmm. End the wickedness, establish justice, raise up those who are righteous, the just. You're a righteous God.
Right.
Do what you should. But then he tries the hearts, and the word there that the King James translates reigns, the ESV translates it minds. I looked it up, in one of the Greek translations of the Old Testament actually uses the word for kidneys there, which is what, and if you look at the Hebrew, that's what it actually is. It's actually kidneys.
Kidneys.
God tests our kidneys. See if they're functioning properly.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it.
But it's interesting. Different people use different body parts to describe basically their innermost being, their emotions. Why did we choose the heart to be what we describe as I love you with all my heart.
Right.
The Bible also talks about having bowels of compassion. It's like, what makes my bowels compassionate towards you? Why does compassion come from my bowels?
I have bowels of compassion to you.
And
I think about even nowadays, the gall.
Yeah.
The gall of that man.
Yeah. It's like the gall, like his gallbladder, or is like, what does that have to do with anything?
Or even, which, not to get like dirty with this or anything, but people saying that recklessness and daring comes from the certain size of something. That's also, it's like, where did that come from? What does that have to do with anything? It doesn't. but somebody at some point just decided that,
that
and everybody's going
yeah.
along with it, and it's interesting,
Yeah, we've chosen different things. It's like the apple of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
That, and of course the indication is that that's actually more like the pupil of my eye.
Mm-hmm.
And like what does that have to do with, I will love you like the pupil of my eye? Do I love the pupil of my eye? I don't know, I guess
yeah, it's the main
kind of
part
like
that
it.
lets you be able to see.
Yeah, so we protect it, we care for it.
Right.
We make sure it's okay, um, because we want to be able to keep seeing. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of thing. But it's interesting that they use here the kidneys.
Kidneys.
God is going to
Kidneys,
test your
man,
kidneys. Um, and it is, I think, the ESV making not the literal translation,
Right.
but the mind.
Which
The decision making part of your body is not your kidneys,
right.
it's your mind. And so God
And-
is judging your decisions and your
And
decision making.
the committee that translated the ESV did translate it trying to be a little less word for word and more trying to convey the spirit, the
message
thought
that was,
of
yeah,
the original
the
translation.
meaning of behind
Which,
the word.
sometimes
Sometimes
that's
you
tricky.
have to. Yeah, sometimes you have to.
Sometimes you can't go for an exact word for word, otherwise people are gonna be like, "Whoa, what's going on?" Like especially like Greek and Hebrew, their sentence structure is not the same as
Right.
ours.
Yeah, and
So if
you go
they
word
did
for
word
it's
for word,
out of
reading
order
out
to
of the
us.
Bible would sound like Yoda talking. Nobody would be able to keep a straight face.
Yeah, and for anybody that thinks the King James doesn't do that, I'm sorry, but when you read your King James, look for all the words that are in italics.
Yep.
Those are words that the King James translators put in there to help us understand.
Yep.
Those are not words that were in the original. There is not a direct translation
Yep.
of those words.
Yep.
Um,
And modern day translators have kept doing basically the exact same thing that the old King James translators did. They're just continuing to take it a step further,
trying to
as
make
the
it where we
language
can
develops.
understand it
Yep.
in our English language. Because
that's
Hebrew
the
and
whole
English
point.
and Greek, they're different languages.
Personally, a word that is completely underutilized in the English translation of the Bible, that is overutilized, well, maybe not, correctly utilized in at least the Greek. I don't know about the Hebrew, but I know it's used a lot in the Greek. Y'all.
Y'all.
Yep.
Y'all. Yeah,
The
we should have
number
more.
of times that a word is plural in the Greek and that plurality
you all.
does
Yeah.
not transfer over well. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah,
or-
y'all is a great word.
or certain translations that won't even carry the all over, won't carry the plural nature, and they'll just be like you, and
Right.
just kind of expect us to use context.
Interestingly enough, the King James did that.
Did what?
The King James actually did distinguish between singular and plural. That's
Oh,
the
really?
difference between ye and you.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, go back and look at it.
I had heard that was a difference in
I know, that's what people say. Oh, this
standing.
is the no, you're no.
Huh. Okay.
Jesus says it to Peter. Jesus calls Peter ye and thee when he's talking.
Interesting. Okay.
So the
Look
ye
at that.
and the thee are not a matter of
Of station.
station. They became that.
Right.
They became that, but that's not
Right.
what they originally were. They actually were a differentiation between singular and plural.
That's interesting. Well, we've been going for a little bit, and I think we went through basically
But that
everything.
covered pretty well.
As well as wandering around the Hebrew judgment system back in Moses' day, and
drunkenness and laying out fleeces and
signs from God.
yeah, and I didn't even talk about how your mother, God helped me choose your mother, and we didn't.
Oh yeah. And then this little ramble on the end about translations.
Yeah.
So
It's weird that you said that about the dress, because I know another guy that very similar thing about
That's
it.
actually,
That's
you
why
had
you did
told me about that story, and I was like, I wonder if that would work. Like, if I'd be able to get an answer from that. But yeah, we asked, because we were so.
What if she'd have worn a blue dress that day instead of a
I
black
would
or
have just
white?
been very confused. I would have been like, all right, God, I feel like we weren't
Let
on
me
the
try
same
this
page here.
again.
Let me.
Well,
if-
Gideon did lay that fleece out twice.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, let me make sure I'm getting your message here.
Yeah. We asked, like, before we got engaged, we each individually asked, like, for 3 or 4 different signs, because we were just like, we almost couldn't believe it. It's like we asked for it, and then God was like, all right, here it is. And we're like, no way. Because, I feel like the human mind, we're so trained to be like, oh, that was just a coincidence. And so.
See, I only asked for one, and there it was. I was ready to go.
Well.
And we weren't even dating yet at that point.
Yeah.
We'd barely met. We'd known each other 2 days.
I didn't want to.
Of course, she'd already decided we were getting married the first night we met. So,
I was afraid.
I didn't have any choice in the matter. It was a done deal.
I was afraid that I was going to, like, trick myself into believing what I wanted to believe. And so I asked for multiple times. And I was like, all right, if any of these don't show up, then I'm just lying to myself.
Yeah.
But if all of these happen, then I know that it is actually God giving me signs. And all of them happened. And even till this day, where, like, we'll be fighting about something, and one of us will just be like, well, man, this just really, like, there's no way that this is what God had wanted from us when he was like, y'all are gonna be married. God, is this is everything still going right? If so, it's usually butterflies. We'll ask for, like, a specific butterfly, and the first time that happened, it was a cold day, which, butterflies in the cold don't go very well together. And we hadn't seen a butterfly.
Really asking for a lot there, aren't you?
Well, it was like February or something.
It's August. Could we get some snow, please?
Right. But it was like February.
Well, it's about cold enough for snow out there this morning.
We hadn't seen a butterfly yet that year, and we were outside having, like, a little picnic or something, and we're like, all right, if everything's still okay, can you send us a butterfly? And we got 3. So I hadn't seen a single butterfly all year. It was still colder than you would typically see butterflies out. And God's like, all right, shut up. You get 3 butterflies. You're fine.
Enough of this already.
Quit.
It's like, what do I have to do to convince you?
Yeah. So, but God is very patient in his long suffering, and recognizes that we are hard-headed and.
See the apostles casting
stubborn.
lots for a replacement for Judas.
Right.
Oh, well, wait. Are you sure? Let's do 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Let's try that again. Just check and see.
Yeah.
But
we hope you enjoyed, and even for our lengthy little talks, this one ran over a good little ways.
Yeah,
but
I don't know if it's our longest, but it's up there.
Yeah, well, we keep talking. We're going to hit
We're gonna
50,
hit it.
so that timer would be really helpful if we'd actually use it.
It does show us exactly how long we've been talking.
Yeah, it does. All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, we hope that at least some of this is beneficial to you.
Official?
Beneficial. Not been official, but beneficial.
Oh, beneficial.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Like you've enjoyed it. Like
there
you
was
got something
just
out of
enough
it.
of a pause in there that I was like, what? I'm wearing it.
It's-
We're both wearing t-shirts.
it's
Is there
been
anything
official.
official about this?
No, well, I mean, both of these are official. This is my work uniform. That's your work uniform. We're very official.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair.
Alrighty. You're trying to hit that 50, aren't you?
Honestly, kind of, but We hope you're able to take something from this, and I hope you enjoyed.
Maybe break this up into 3 parts because it'll be a while before you get the next one. So
Yeah.
watch
Wait,
a few
will it?
minutes here. Well, at least a week, so you could watch 10 minutes a day for 5 days. You know?
That might be a good idea to do that with all of them. We go on for long enough.
Just cover one verse,
Yeah.
1 or 2 verses every
Yeah.
time.
But anyway,
All right.
hope you have a good rest of your day, and hope you'll stick with us for the next one. Bye.
Bye.